All right, guys. Leap 27 Beyond. Come as you are.
Welcome, guys. This is a new episode of Leap 27 Beyond. Come as you are, the place where we ask everybody to come as you are. But we know that you're not going to want to stay as you are. We have a special guest, man, and I'm excited. I'll be honest, it's an honor. This person to me is a family member. He's my cousin. I love him to death. We were able to go see his show. A lot of you guys may know him as Polar Bear. I know him as Gonzalez. The myth.
Yeah.
John Gonzalez, how you doing?
Good.
That's what's up, man. Doing good, man. And I know that you know him as your little as your little cousin. Me and you, we've been through some crazy things, and the handshake said it all last night. That we've never forgotten that where we've come from. And like Manuel said, it was an honor to follow you with the camera, be backstage, and to really see with some of the topics we're going to get into what comics have to really sacrifice and go through. So it was an honor to really see that, because when I walk in, it was something a little bit different for me. So.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Nah, I'm honored to be here. Appreciate y'all having me on, dude. It's it'll be good. It'll be fun.
Man, just watching you in your, not even in your environment. This is the first time I got to be more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And watching you take control was pretty impressive. Like, honestly, it was very impressive. I didn't know, like, remember, like he said, you guys are more closer to your age. Me, the things that I know about you is just more like, I know the younger John.
Yeah.
So watching you take control was just unbelievable. How did you get to that point in your career? Because I know that you used to be the shy John. I know you used to be.
I know the rapper John. It was bald, a little bit, a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
And that's the one I knew, and kind of in the corner until he was asked to come over there. But to see you grab the reins and everyone was respect this dude. Like, how did you get there?
Honestly, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how I get there every time I perform. I don't know. Even my friend was like, "Man, you need to have the confidence you have on stage, off stage." I'm like, that's a mystery, dude. I don't know how to do that. But I don't know, dude. I get into a zone and I do it, and I just make it happen. Honestly.
Now, do you feel like, I know this is a weird question, but do you feel like you treat it more as a job? That's why you take it so seriously when you're in the moment, in the zone. This is your paycheck.
I mean,
sort of say.
I do, but I also try not to think too much about that. I don't like to think of it as a job. But I do. I think of it as more of like my duty and like what I have to do. There's people there who need to laugh. There's people there who paid good money. I mean, and especially right now, man, times are really hard. And, if you're going to spend money, I want to make sure that you're having a good time. I want to make sure you're laughing. I want to make sure you're enjoying yourself. And I think that really started coming around, like when I would have people tell me, like after shows, like, thank you so much. I really needed this, especially during the pandemic. Like, I think that's where it happened for me, is like, some of the nurses, like, thank you. Like, we're nurses and we've just been swamped and we needed this night out and it helped me so much. And like other people saying like, I just lost my dad, or I just lost this person and I haven't laughed in like months. This was the first time I laughed. Like, hearing stuff like that, you just realize like, oh, this is way more than just telling jokes. Like, this is something that is helping others.
Yeah. And I can totally see that, because I had an opportunity to work the door for you yesterday, and it was funny because me and the guards noticed one thing. It's like every person that came with their tickets, every person that was there, they looked mad. Like, they looked like they were just having a chip on their shoulder. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was trying to tell jokes. That's when you said, hey, leave the jokes to the professionals. And, I was trying to make them smile, because I'm just like, wait a minute, like, this is a comedy show.
Yeah.
Why are you guys coming here? But what was so crazy was when the show was over, the same people that walked in that, they knew me because I was at the door. They said bye to me and everything. Man, they had a blast. Their demeanor was different. Their characteristics were different. So everything you just said is exactly what I witnessed. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not just talking. And not only that, it's confirmation that what you're doing is exactly your plan. You know what I mean? Like you have a guideline, you have a plan, and you are following it because people are coming in and whatever's going on in their life, but you give them that hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours or whatever of that relief, you know, that stressor is gone and they can just get in your world.
What was funny too is like exactly everything you guys are saying. And these guys not only were happy, they were happy to wait in line. That was a long line for merch. Like I was trying to get through and it was a long line for merch. And I was like, man, first they came in mad. Now they're happy to wait in line just to talk to this, I say young man. I know we're not young anymore, but you know, with this man. And, you know, it was an amazing thing to see. Remember, I was drawn more to your comedy from almost that pandemic part because I wasn't able to go always to your shows. So I kind of got on the phone, saw your comedy. Man, this guy's really funny. To see it in real life, total different thing.
Yeah, 100%. And it's crazy because the way he got to see it during the pandemic, as you were growing, I didn't get to see it. I was locked up. You know, I was diminishing and you were growing. So it's like, it was different. Yeah. I didn't get to experience the things that I guess everybody else got to experience. But then when I started to get out, when I started to get my life in order and I started watching it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like this guy took something that was pure, meaning your life, your experiences, and somehow, some way you were able to mold it and be able to tell a story in a way that you took a tragedy and made it a comedy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that is hard to do. You know how I know is because I'm a writer. And things that come easy to me that sometimes my brother sits here and is like, man, how'd you write that? Or man, you're so good with words. It's like, to me, it's easy, but it's only because my mind thinks different. You know, you give me a math problem and I will not know the answer to that, you know, but that, what is it? Your talent, your gift. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. When you tap into your gift, there's things that you can do that no one else can do. Right. You know, I tried to do comedy, as you can see. It didn't work. No, I'm playing.
Hey, man. But to touch on that, I tried rap for the longest time. I mean, you're the perfect example. You tried rap. You had to switch to comedy. It started working out. Yeah. So sometimes and I just want to say this, let's not blow our opportunities on one thing. If it's not working, it's all right to move on. You know, it's all right to go on to the next thing. But,
so this is my other question. Who is John Gonzalez? Like if somebody was to ask you that question, there was something in your comedy that really touched me, and it was you tapped into the mental health. That's just that alone, to even speak on that and put yourself out there is just bold. That's taking literally the bull by the horn, saying enough is enough. If I could barely come out of this, imagine the people that don't have the same opportunities I have. You're offering that opportunity. So for people to understand, there's Polar Bear, which is and this is just my opinion, if you don't mind me saying, I really feel like, you know, who's John Gonzalez? We'll start with that. Who's John Gonzalez? Who would you say you are?
Man, I don't know. I always feel like I'm just like a regular dude, to be honest. Like when people are like, "Oh my God, you're Polar Bear," I'm like, I'm just a regular guy. You know, like and you know, I've always prayed that prayer, dude. Even before the TikTok days of just like, you know, I'm going after what I want, and I know what I want, and I want to get bigger. But I would also tell God, like, you know, if you can foresee me changing or being not myself or having a big head and having a big ego, then I don't want this taken away from me. I always want to be humble. I always want to be down to earth. And that's just kind of like, that's, you know, how we grew up, man. Just being loving, kind, respectful to others, especially your elders. And that's how I feel I am, dude. Like I care about a lot of people. I have a big heart. I have always been able to be vulnerable and transparent. That's just something that has always been in me. Like I don't know. I think doing comedy, you have to really leave the persona. And doing the rap music, it was really hard because you always had to kind of like put on a front and be like, nah, you know, you're too cool for school.
Exactly what it was, a front,
you know, whatever. Yeah. And so when you get into comedy, I had to kind of like shed that off. And when I started telling jokes and being more vulnerable with myself and like telling jokes on stage that I would like never say in front of people, but people were laughing, I'm like, oh, okay. I think at that point is when I started being more vulnerable, more transparent. Of just like, this is what I am. This is who I am. You like it, you don't. It doesn't matter to me. This is gonna be me. I know other people are gonna relate to it, and that's all that matters.
Man, and so you would say that you're very confident?
And I mean,
because on stage, that's the persona you
on stage
play.
for sure. On stage, I am very confident. Off stage, when it comes to like trying to like date or talk to women, I'm not the most confident person at all. I don't even like, I don't know why. Like I took like, you know, our cousin like Mike's whole crash course of how to treat women, and it was awful advice, especially like to
at our age now,
11-year-old, 12-year-old, like kick her to the curb or like feed her Burger King, like it was like really bad.
And it's funny because me and Manuel had a conversation about this a couple of days ago about how shy I am. Man, talking with my wife, it took me like 6 or 7, 8 different times. Later on during life, I'm like, you know, why were you coming in so many times? I'd only seen you once, and then boom, you came in like 8 times. Well, she had trying to see me, but I don't have the guts to just say, hey, what's up? You know?
Yeah.
It just, I don't know why. You know, it's in my head that, I don't know, maybe the insecurity, maybe the fear of rejection. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe a combination of both. But I don't know if I've ever overcome it because I'm tied down now.
Right.
But yeah.
So this is my opinion. I wanted to say it earlier, but I wanted to know who John was. And from your words, and I agree with everything you say, you're very humble. I believe that. You had said something on stage, and I wanted to remember it so much, but you had said something that your gift, or when you were in the clinic, or not clinic, but when you were going through what you were going through, you found who you were, that service to others, you know, being there for others, helping others,
the therapy,
things like that.
the love languages, acts of service, and quality time.
There you go.
Yeah.
And when you said that right there really described who you were without, it's almost like you've been like that your whole life, but you didn't know you were like that.
Yeah.
And so what was crazy was when I saw you on stage, this is what my perception was. John Gonzalez is the person that lived the life. Polar Bear is able to tell the story. Polar Bear has that confidence for some reason. When Polar Bear gets on stage, he just takes control, and he's able to tell John Gonzalez's story.
Yeah.
But when John Gonzalez gets back stage and gets back to his life, it's like John has to live his story again. He has to live his life.
Yeah.
And so now Polar Bear doesn't have anything to say yet, and it's more just, you know, would that be fair enough to say? I mean, that's kind of what I kind of saw, you know?
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I'm a different person on stage. I've even had like people tell me that after a show, you know, like I've had, like, I can't remember where I was, but I was at the merch table, and like I was talking to this couple, and they're like, you're really calm. I didn't think, like, you were crazy on stage. I didn't think that you'd be this calm. I'm like, I'm just chilling, dude. Like I gave y'all a show. I left it all on
over,
stage. Like I left everything up there. Now I'm chilling. You can drink, we can talk, but I'm not going to be out here like, you know, doing crazy antics and like, you know.
I'm a comedian, not a jester.
Right. Yeah.
You have to pay for my jokes. Nah, well, I have a couple of questions, man. Like, something that we have been, my brother and I have been talking about. Like, I watched your podcast, I watch your comedies, I watch your skits. There's a lot of things that, man, like I wanted to know, like how, like I'm really, you know me, I've always been into movies. I've always been like, as soon as I watch a movie, okay, who directed it? Who wrote it? Who? I mean, I'm always like that. So when I saw everything you did, and I'm like, okay, we come from the same family, we have the same opportunities, we have the same everything. He just tapped into his gift. It's like, how did you find that drive in you? Because that is, and I don't like to use the word envious, but I do find that rare quality in people. Because when I talk to you, when I see you, you're always either I'm editing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing skits. You know, you're always doing something. Yeah. How do you find that drive in you?
It took a while to build up, to be honest with you. And I remember when I moved to Colorado, I was in Austin my whole life. And then when we moved out there, I moved out there to get away from the friends I was hanging out with, because we would just go out and we would drink and we would party, and I'd be like, what am I like? I need to get, like, if I want to do comedy, I got to get away from this. Like, I can't be going out and partying all the time. It's fun, but you know, other times, like when you're there, like you go to the, you know, the feeling, like when you go to the club and you're just there, like, I should have stayed home and played games.
Yeah,
you know,
man,
like,
this is not funny. It didn't hit the way it did.
This is dumb. And so, like, I remember moving to Colorado, and it was almost like a fresh new start. And I got a job, and I was just able to be myself and be goofy and make people laugh. And it was a job I really didn't care about. I was like, whatever, dude, I'm just having fun. I remember, like, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember, like, the CEO of Comcast, like, or one of the CEOs of Comcast, one of the higher ups came up and said something, and I made a joke, and he was like, what? No, I don't know about that. And, like, he went back into his stuff, and he left, and the class was like, I can't believe you said that to that guy. I'm like, who cares, dude? He giggled a little bit, threw him off. I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, no, it was funny, but I can't believe you said that. And, like, that's when I started noticing, like, man, this is like, that's when I started, like, shedding the rap persona and started coming out of my shell a little more, and like, oh, this is actually who I am, you know, this is great, you know. And I think like doing that helped me out a lot. And yeah, man, I love what I do, you know, I really do. And just being able to do that and feel that and go through that and experience that and start kind of shedding that off, it's been a journey, but it does bring me to that drive, you know. And when I was in Colorado, I remember Dr. Dre released an album called Compton, and on that album, Jimmy Iovine has like a dialogue in there, and it says, I can't say it exactly word for word, but it's something along the lines of like, fear is a really powerful thing. It's very powerful. He's like, sometimes you have to wrestle that fear to push you from behind rather than stand in front of you. And when I heard that, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, that's the realest thing ever. Because like, fear is there. And you know, and fear was always in front of me. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, or even like quitting the job and doing all that. And so I started like using that in the back of my head of like, I don't want to get to my 60s, 70s, 80s and sit there and be like, man, what if I would have just quit my job and gone after this? What if I would have went a little harder? What if I would have done that? So that was my fear, and that fear is what propelled me to just doing stuff and doing skits and doing all these things. And then during the pandemic, when that took off, I started doing the skits. And it was only because my roommate told me to do the skits, and I never wanted to do TikTok. I was like, I don't want to do TikTok. It's an app for kids. I'm done. I don't want to do that. I'm good. He's like, bro, just do it. He was really smart, very, very educated. And he was like, I'll get you PPP loans. He's like, you have your own business. He's like, we can get you PPP loans. I'll get you unemployment. He's like, I'll get everything set up for you, tell you what to do as long as you do the skits. And I was like, he was like, the PPP loan's like $5,000. I was like, let's do these skits.
Do these skits, man.
Make it happen.
You started with that. If you would have led with that,
the conversation would have been real short, man.
Real
$5,000.
And so I started doing them, and I remember I told I was doing all kinds of research, and it was like everything said you have to do 3 skits a day, and I was like, that's ridiculous, bro.
Knowing the business now, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, whatever, dude. I'll do it for 2 weeks. And I told him, I was like, look, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna be real, and I'll do it for 2 weeks. The 14th day, literally the last day,
I remember which one.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna grab one of my jokes that I have about being half white, half Hispanic, and I put it together, and it was the one about Fruity Pebbles and Fruity Bites, and I made that skit, and I just spent all day on this one skit. I was like, if this is going to be the last one, let's make sure it's good. It's a joke, which is like one of my babies. I want to make sure that it's perfect. Yeah. And I remember I would go down and I would reshoot certain like scenes and make sure everything was perfect. And I threw it out there. And then the next morning I woke up, I think it was at like 208,000 views, and I had like 2,000 or 3,000. Yeah.
Wow.
2,000, 3,000 new followers. And I was like, what? And I remember I looked and I went on there. I was like, oh, dang, this is taking off. And I went in the comment section, and everybody was like, this is hilarious. We want more of this. This is great. Wow. I can relate to this. I was like, are you serious? Like, I've been throwing everything at the wall for 5 years, bro. 5 years of just releasing skits, and y'all just wanted my life.
That's it.
All right. And so I just did it straight for 2 months of,
you got plenty of life stories.
2 to 3 skits a day. Yeah. Yeah. With all the characters in our life. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the skits actually come from you. Because like the video, like growing up and being with video cameras and recording and
with
like
Keenan, remember Keenan? Yeah,
doing all the home videos that we did.
Oh man,
like that's legit the reason I know how to record and like set stuff up and like get certain angles and stuff, because I always like watched you growing up.
And that's crazy that you say that, because we did do it, and you just proved a point that if you let fear keep you from doing what you love, you won't ever do what you love. Because you're right, I did love the cameras, I did love being filming things like that, and then somewhere along the lines life hit me and I didn't pursue it. But that yet, look at you decided to pursue something. You didn't allow fear to do anything, and so what happened? You reap the benefits of that. You work hard towards something, you get it. It's like it says in the Bible, you ask and you shall receive, knock and you shall, the door will be open. Why? It's like when people sit there and say like, oh, this didn't work or that didn't work. It's like, well, why? How much effort are you putting into it? Because if you put all your time into it, if you put all your effort into it, it has to work.
Yeah.
If your heart is there and you're doing it for all the right reasons, it has to work.
And I'm glad you said that, because one thing I noticed traveling with you in the backstage and everything, looking at just the comics there, everyone in sync, one person at the door, everyone working as one unit. It's like you have to eat, breathe, and sleep your craft. If you don't, just hang it up. Don't try it. It's gonna be really, really hard.
Yeah.
You have your one hit wonders. It'll hit with one hit. It's 1 in a million. It takes hard work, dedication, and I was just seeing, and I got to witness every single bit of that.
So this is what I noticed. Your skits, and I love your skits. Your skits are just, they talk about life and they tell a story. Now, what I noticed is when people go on your skits are very clean. They're G-rated.
Yep.
So if you get your tickets, we transition to all of a sudden, it's like, well, it goes the other way. So this is my thing. How does that work into your... I know John Gonzalez and I know your comedy, and your comedy is amazing. How does, when someone comes in there and hears the language, how does that affect you in any way, or does that affect you in any way, shape, or form?
It did in the very beginning, for sure. After the TikTok success and all that stuff and going on the road, I really did panic. I was like, dude, my stand-up is completely different from my skits. My skits are family friendly. They're going to come to a show, and should I write new stuff, and should I just be clean? And I was like really questioning stuff. And my buddy Israel was like, dude, just be you. Just have fun. He's like, look at Bob Saget. He's like, Bob Saget was Full House. Everybody knew him as Danny Tanner.
Now that you mentioned it like that, he was bad on stage.
Yeah, and he was super raunchy, like even like more raunchy. He's like, you're not even that bad. Like, yeah, you talk about sex stuff, but like it's nothing compared to that. Like, just have fun. And it still bothered me, and I still, had that kind of stuff like that would just kind of nitpick at me. And then I remember I had my manager told me, because he's good friends with Gabriel Iglesias, and Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, he's very family friendly and all that stuff. Well, he wasn't always like that. He had a Comedy Central special that blew up, and then he was like, well, now I got to be clean. And so we just started doing clean, and he had told me that Gabriel is stuck in a place that he wants to do rated R material. He wants to do more adult material, but he's stuck in this box that he can't get out because he's scared to get out and do the stuff that he wants to do. And when I heard that, it kind of like opened my eyes of like, I'm doing what I love, and I want to love it.
Yeah.
I don't want to put myself in a box and contain myself, especially with something like comedy, because comedy it's a form of art, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like telling a painter, like, yeah, you can paint, but you're not going to be able to use blue or red. You just figure it out. No colors, black, white, figure it out. Or you can't paint this certain thing. Oh, you like painting trees? No trees.
Yeah.
You know? So like, I was like, all right. But I've had, people that have been upset about the rated R material. I've had people that have reached out to me. I'll never forget, I had one lady in Arizona, and she was like, you're filthy, and your material is just, very raunchy and awful, and the Holy Spirit put it on my heart to tell you that you're doing stuff wrong and that you need to do things another way. And I can't believe that you would share scriptures on your story and you would share these devotionals when you're talking about this stuff on stage. I am completely appalled, and And instead of going at her like in a hateful way, I was like, look, honestly, I understand. I'm sorry you were disappointed. I was like, I'm a work in progress, just like a lot of people. I was like, but just because I talk about certain things on stage doesn't mean that I'm not worthy of God's love.
Amen.
I was like, instead of you coming at me in a negative way, I was like, why don't you pray for me? I was like, how about that? Just say a prayer and just pray that God works on me and works on my heart. And she completely changed her tone. She was like, no, I just, I don't mean to come at you any kind of way and be rude. And, it's just, this is how I felt. And I really think that, you should probably work on it. I was like, I'm sure I will. And due time. I was like, but right now, this is what I do. And that messed with me, bro. Like, it really kind of put like a damper on the things that I was doing, because I really felt like I've always felt kind of like guilty sharing certain things and like talking about the things that I talk about on stage, or like even telling Matt last night of like praying and asking God to give me the strength, the knowledge, the wisdom, patience, timing, delivery to tell these jokes, and the jokes that I'm saying don't line up, But at the same time, dude, I've finally come to a place of understanding. And last year really helped out, because I got to a point in my life where I was like, just different voices were going off in my head. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I remember I prayed on it, and this was around the time I was taking every Tuesday off. I'd turn off all my phones. I would just sit there and I would do everything God, scripture, Bible, sermons. If I watched a show, I would watch The Chosen. Everything was Jesus and God on Tuesdays. And I remember praying to him and talking to him like, what do you want me to do? Like, whatever you want, God. Like, I love what I do, but if you don't want me to do this, I will abandon it all and I will leave it here and I will do it. Do you want me to do? I got podcast equipment. Do you want me to do a podcast about you and only you? Because I will abandon everything and do it. But I need a word from you. I need a sign from you. I need something from you, clear as day, that tells me to do this. And if you want me to do something else, I will sacrifice and drop everything, just like Peter did with the boats and left his fish nets and went and followed you. I will do that if you want me to do that. But let me know. And I never heard anything. Never did. And I remember it was bothering me, and I was like upset, and I talked to my therapist, and she's like a faith-based therapist. And she was like, I understand your frustration. She was like, but sometimes when we don't hear from God, it means that you're on the right path. Sometimes an answer that you don't get is the answer that you need. And I heard that. Wow. And I prayed and I talked to God, and I was like, I don't know if this is what you want, God. I was like, I don't like giving you any kind of time limit or time schedule. I don't like any of that. I was like, but I need to know something by this day. If I don't hear anything from you, then I'm just going to assume that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I can't even explain it, man. I'm at a point right now that even when I pray, I still pray to God, like, help me to use my mind to come up with jokes that aren't sexual, aren't vulgar, aren't raunchy. Help me find the funny in life that doesn't have to be that, because I do like the sexual jokes and vulgar jokes. Is what I came up with. But I also like finding the funny in other stuff, and I want to challenge myself, and I know that it's going to be on his time. It's not on my time. So I am just going to keep doing what I do. And making stuff happen. And like the crazy thing is that like after praying that, like certain things have happened in my life that have like come jokes. The snake in the garage.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Me falling in the shower and bruising my ribs. Yep. That's a joke. I don't want to bruise myself anymore. I don't want to hurt myself to make jokes, but I mean,
John is hurting. Polar Bear learns the stories, but John is hurting.
yeah, right. I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't ask for this.
Okay, no more sexual jokes.
Right.
We're gonna hurt you.
Right. But yeah, man, that's kind of like where I'm at right now, dude. And I'm kind of like, you know, the whole Jesus take the wheel thing. I'm just steering the ship and he's navigating.
Yeah. And when you say that, man, that's very real, because that's a point that we've all been at. You know, it's like, I've been driving this whole time and it ain't working. Mm-hmm. So you take the wheel. Now, I'm going to be honest, been following this journey, especially the Sleep 27 journey, for about 30 something weeks now, maybe 40 something weeks now. And the way you said it is, I've never heard it that way. If you don't hear a prayer, you know, maybe you're doing something right. There's not always has to be a for sure answer, you know.
An unanswered prayer is the answer to the prayer.
To the prayer, yeah.
Right.
Hey, man, you're doing right. So maybe you shouldn't have to do anything. You know what you need to do, because that's one thing that we try to tell people too. Sometimes God tries to take you off the nipple milk, you know, and grows you up. So he's like, John, you know what to do. Keep working on yourself, you know. So I like the way you put that.
Yeah,
man.
and I mean, I can relate because I don't like to compare, but it's like with Leap. You know, what God showed me with Leap is not meant for the Christians. It's meant for the people that really want to speak and they really want to know God. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people that are going to be on our shows are going to be very controversial. That's the point.
Yep.
Because we need people to understand that, you know what, a comedian who struggles with vulgarity or struggles with, obscenity or whatever it is no different than a Marine who has to pray to the same God and do certain tasks that they don't want to do. Because at the end of the day, it's not about, Lord, be on my side. It's, am I on your side? You know what I mean?
And to come from three, the way you said it, you got Marine, you have comedian, and you have, you know, gang member, prison, you know, 3 different forms, but made a show called Come As You Are. You can come as any one of us. Mm-hmm. And like me and my brother say, it's not our job to make you a believer. It's our job just to show you, amplify the Bible, show you what the Lord can do. And then he's going to do the rest. He's going to work in your life.
Yeah. It's called a personal relationship. I got mine.
Amen.
Yep. And I got my conviction, just like Matt has his. And his conviction is not the same as mine. Just like what his sin is not my sin.
Yeah.
My thing is alcohol. If it even gets close to me, what happens? Yeah, everybody knows.
Everybody knows mine is the bars.
At the end of the day, what happens? You know, that thing right there is my burden to carry. That's something that's my reminder that, hey, if that alcohol, that craving comes, hit the floor, pray, ask God in your life, whatever the case is. You know what I mean? Now, has anyone, since, I mean, you said it yourself, you got real close to the Bible. Your therapist is faith-based. Has anyone ever taken the time to show you what the Bible says about foul language or swearing or anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've done my research on it too.
Awesome.
Also,
Oh,
and
nice.
Looked up on it when I was going through all of that, you know. And it's I feel like it's one of those things, like, from what my understanding is, it's, you know, the mouth is a powerful tool, powerful weapon. Don't use it to curse anybody, and all of those things, right? And to me, with the language and foul language and all that, I feel like these are words that we just came up with. Like, these words did not exist back in that time, you know. So there was never like, don't say, you know, this, don't say that, don't say any of that. You know, they said the don't curse or whatever, you know. And with where I'm at and where I found comfort with what I'm doing now is I am not using the language to put anybody down, to make anybody feel bad. I'm using it to bring light and laughter to a situation either I'm going through or that other people can relate to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it. Now, with that being said, I also, and I'm sure this is from the way I was growing up, when I talk about like church, when I talk about God, especially when I talk to God or I'm talking to God, I don't use curse words because I feel like it's a respect factor.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just like if I'm praying, I'm going to take my hat off and pray real quick, or, you know, it's just a respect factor of that, you know?
Yeah, and I like how you said about the words and about how we had to develop a language to communicate, because there is one thing that it says in the Bible in Matthew 5:22. Jesus talks about this word, and it's called raka. Mm-hmm. That if you say this word raka, you are condemned. You're judged. If you call your brother a fool, then you're in judgment of hellfire. And that's Matthew 5:22. And what I love about that is because it's almost equivalent. Because remember, he's saying if you say this word, and it even says the word raka. Mm-hmm. That's like saying if you say the word and you say the F word or this or this, it's explaining to you. So I prayed on that. You know, I was like, man, how can you put that in the Bible? And if you say it, and it's like, because look at the heart. Do you know what raka means? Mm-mm. I'm going to show you. Raka means it's vain, empty, it's worthlessness. It's derived from a Jewish word, and it means to spit on somebody. Mm. So if you take that word, it's Jesus saying it's not about the word, it's about the action, the emotion. Mm-hmm. If I look at you and call you empty, you're a loser, you're an idiot, that's more powerful than, you know, F that.
Yeah, get the F out of here, you know. Like
that is more powerful. That is what God is saying, because I am diminishing your character. Mm-hmm. I am taking away what God designed you for, whatever your purpose was. I'm telling you, no, you're empty. And most of us are not strong, especially when we're broken. You acknowledge that mental health in this day and age is in crisis. Mm-hmm. And how many things on TikTok and how many things that we see is just Matt. My brother Matt was just saying, like, it's so sad that we watch videos on TikTok and people are fighting and people are getting so beat up and nobody has put the phone down to call 911. We enjoy this brutality.
Yep, we get a lot of clicks, a lot of likes.
And yet we have 1,000 comments saying how awesome, how whatever. It may be 13 saying, oh, poor person, poor this. That's where we've gone. Mm-hmm. We've transitioned this thing where it's like, oh, if you say a cuss word, it's bad. But yet it's like, it's okay to call you an idiot. You're dumb.
Right.
You're taking a person's character and you're destroying it.
Yeah.
And that is what is one of the most important verses that I wanted to share with you, because sometimes in the time where you just feel like, man, is this too much or whatever? Where's your heart? Mm-hmm. Why are you saying it? What is the purpose of it? Are you trying to lead somebody a bad path? Are you just telling a story and this is the way that it's involved? You know, what is the whole meaning behind everything that you do? Another verse that I just want to really quickly share with you, man, because this really means a lot. Like when I see you, it's Ephesians 4:29, and it says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. Let me tell you, the reason why I felt like God led me to this is, man, when people go to this show, they got problems. Mm-hmm. They got real problems. And when they come to you, they want certain needs fulfilled. And you just said it before we started this show. My whole purpose in this show is they paid this amount of money for my show. I'm making sure that I fulfill every need, because whatever's going on out there, they're coming in here for an hour and a half release, a vacation, a whatever it is, emotional. Therapy. Yes.
Every one of them said, we need to get out tonight.
Yeah.
Every one of them there said, hey,
and it was raining.
We need a break. And it was raining. Yeah, it's true. I was telling you about that it's amazing to see even the weather, that it's hard to pack the house like that. And then when I was recording some of the other artists, which shout out to all the comedians and everyone over there, you saw everything just keep growing and growing and growing. By the time Polar Bear got up, it was just an awesome sight because from the hospitality, which I have recorded of following John downstairs, John turning around, he sees an older lady kind of struggling with her drinks. I'm not sure if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not for the camera. It was no hesitation. John turns around. Do you need help with that, ma'am? Grabs her drinks, walks her to her seat. And I got it all on camera. Sits her down. The guy kind of like looks like that to see who's helping his mom or whoever it is. And like, oh, it's John. So John's not talking the talk. The difference is he's walking the walk. Yeah. I just want to address that because there's a lot of people that are going to just, talk about change, talk about this, talk about that, talk about being humble, but to actually put it into action and put every word that you're saying into action, into play. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
it's strong.
that.
It's real strong.
Thank you.
Now, I have another question. Do you feel that the casual use of profanity diminishes the sacredness of like certain topics? Like, for example, you introduce our family to the, you get people involved in our family. Do you feel that it contradicts those? That it diminishes, meaning demoralizes, or people see us lower on those topics, or even like you trivialize, meaning you belittle certain subjects, like when you were talking about the hurricane and things like that, something that is about to come our way and whatever the case. Do you feel that in any way, shape, or form, or?
Not really, man. I think it's just the comedy aspect of it all. Like you have to learn to like laugh at certain things. There's comedy in everything. And I feel like it's a very beautiful gift that God gave. I feel like he gave everybody. Like if you really sit back and you put your feelings aside and you look for comedy in certain situations, it's there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about, perfect example. Think about like when, y'all's dad passed or Uncle John passed and we're at a funeral. And all the cousins are right next to the casket, and we're cracking jokes and laughing about certain things that happened with Uncle Manuel, Uncle John, and we're laughing. Yeah. Like, how are we able to just sit there and laugh when it's such a tragic time? It's because we're finding the comedy in the situation that we're in and that we're going through. Wow. There's comedy in everything, and I think the thing that really expanded my mind in that and even like helped me with the whole like self-depreciation comedy of like finding stuff that's like wrong with me instead of like picking on others was Richard Pryor, when he did Live on Sunset Strip, he had the joke about him lighting himself on fire when he smoked drugs. Do you know how hard that has to be? Yeah. To be that vulnerable, knowing, and this is the thing a lot of people don't know about this special. Live on the Sunset Strip, he shot it. And he had everything set up. He invited everybody. He rented out the venue. He did it, and he bombed. The first night, he bombed. Went up on stage. He was trying to tell the jokes. They weren't delivering. They weren't hitting. The very next night, he says, everybody come back. I'll give you whatever I need. Come back. I'm going to rent out the venue again. We're going to run this back. And he went out there, and that video that you see of him walking to the stage, like you can just see this like gaze in his eyes of like, this dude is focused. Yeah. And he went up on stage and he killed it, murdered it, because he had to go through that failure to get to where he was, and then to go through that and still be able to talk about what everybody's been talking about for however long that we're talking about it, about him lighting himself on fire, smoking crack, and running down the street naked, and being able to like take a match and be like, I've heard what y'all been saying, and like he lights the match, he's like, this is Richard Pryor running down the street smoking crack naked. Man. And like being able to take that and like such a situation where he was in the hospital, he had, I think it was like 2nd or 3rd degree burns. He had to heal. He had to go through all this stuff. He had to hear all the headlines. He had to hear everybody saying that he's probably done. He's over. And to find the comedy in that, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, I don't think it's, to your point, I think it does. It diminishes it a little bit, but it diminishes it in a good way to where it's not as scary. It's almost like the movie It, like when they find out the clown. Like if you're scared of the clown's gonna get bigger and bigger and stronger. But if you're like, it's just a little clown, dude, shut up, then it's not even that big anymore, and it's just like a little problem, and you're laughing about it. And life.
Yeah.
I love the way the comics, though, they swerve sometimes. Like if you see the joke didn't work or didn't hit like you, oh come on, you laughed, or
Yeah.
you guys can switch at the drop of a dime. That's so cool though, because you can work the crowd, work this. Know if the joke offended anybody, and
Yep.
how I think you did that that night.
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, that one, yeah. So
And then I turn it around on him.
exactly, and
I'm
and
like,
it works.
"Dang, I can't believe y'all laughed at that. Y'all are messed up.
and then exactly. So that's how
Put the blame on them.
Yeah.
that's how you handle your. That's kind of how you handle your problems in life too. You gotta look them straight in the face and say, hey, you know what? Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Now, you were talking about if God were to talk to you and give you new material, clean material. My question is, how significant would your comedy show change if God gave you certain materials that you had to incorporate? Would it change your cultural context? Would it change, like adjusting your language? Would it change your audience? Would it change your community? Do you feel that your followers follow you as a comedian, or do they follow the I don't want to call it the vulgarity, but do they follow more the
message?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like how
Are they following the person or the message?
Right. Well, no, I mean, it would definitely change my whole set. But it would be so, and I've seen this play out with a friend of mine. He found God and he completely changed everything about his act. Didn't cuss, didn't do anything. He went from being just the kind of vulgar comedian and then going all the way left super quick. Put out his old material. Hey guys, I'm going clean. This is what it is. Whatever. And he lost a lot of followers because of it, and now he's kind of slowly but surely progressing back into not as vulgar as he was, but he's throwing a little bit of cuss words in there, here and there, and just it's not a big deal, so seeing that, I don't think I would go that route.
Yeah.
If God was to give me material, I would take the material and I would make it as funny as I could, because it's hard to get laughs if you're a clean comedian. It's very hard to, especially if you have an audience that already knows you for vulgarity and coming for a rated R show. What are you doing? So I would tone it down for sure, but I would find the funny in whatever God presented me, and I would present it to that way. The whole mental health thing, I really feel like that's something God put on my heart.
Yeah, and it's
of you're going to be serious for a little bit. It's okay. You're not going to get laughs, but this is something that needs to be said. I need you to say it. All right, I got it.
Yeah, and smooth transitions,
Cool.
because that's hard, bro. You're making them laugh. Time to get serious. Okay, time to get funny again.
And the only reason I'm able to do that is because of my buddy Israel with his comedy special.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was able to make people laugh, and I was there, bro. And that was such an amazing thing to witness, because he's being hilarious. He's killing it. And then he goes into talking about him getting diagnosed with cancer and all these things, and people get so serious, so sad, and even me too, teared up, you get tears in your eyes. And then he says something and you're laughing again. You're your body's what is going on, dude? I was just crying. Now I'm laughing. Now I'm crying. What is you feel bipolar in a sense. You know what I'm saying? This is what women feel like on that time of the month. But it's what is going on, but I think that really helped me out with that, and going back to your question of would it change it? Yes, it would, but I would navigate it in the sense that it wouldn't go from right to left super quickly, because at the same time, Jesus told us to be fishers of men, and I feel like I am able to reach a certain demographic that preachers, priests, and other people won't be able to reach, because they're I don't want to hear that. I've been to church, because a lot of people go to church when they're young. They get judged over and over, and they're I'm good. I don't want to do this. Yeah. I'm fine. Y'all are making me uncomfortable. Yeah. To where if you have somebody who comes in like us, who are mess ups, who do, do things that we shouldn't do, who do sin, but we know that we have that personal relationship with God, that it's okay to mess up. You don't have to be perfect. You know, like I feel like, and I could be wrong and I don't know, but I pray on it and I tell God to show me if not. But I feel like God put me here to reach out to those people who are going through these things, who feel like they have to be perfect. If they see me and they see my clips and they see that I'm saying certain stuff or I'm vulgar and like this guy's, you know, like he likes God. And I've had people tell me like, dude, you've really piqued my interest in this God thing and this Christian thing. I did church once and I never did it again. And now like I'm interested. And I never pressure anybody. I never, you know, preach or shove religion down anybody's throat. I just tell them straight up, that's great, man. If you ever have any questions about it, my DMs are open. Feel free to reach out. I'm always willing to talk about that stuff, dude. But just know that you don't have to be perfect to receive his love. And I am a perfect example of that.
Amen to that. I mean, and I understand because, I mean, you know me. I mean, to sit here and confess my full undivided heart for God when I was pure evil, you know, I mean, you got to understand to see when you look in the mirror and you see the devil himself because of how just evil I was at people, and not only people, but at myself as well. It's like that proved to me that there is a God. There has to be a God. Yeah. If I can do this type of damage to myself or others, there has to be something more. And when I found that personal love relationship, that's when I changed. It had nothing to do with my family. It had nothing to do with my friends. It had nothing to do with my wife or kids. It had everything to do with God. Yeah. It was my personal conviction. I was losing my family. I was losing everything. I took my life. God intervened because no one else was ready to. And then when that moment happened, it's like, what do you want? You can continue. It's a choice. The greatest gift that we've ever gotten is choice. Yeah. People think it's forgiveness. And I mean, don't get me wrong, forgiveness is great, but it's the fact that you can choose to come to the cross. You don't have to. That's the God that I love and worship. He don't make you do anything you don't want to do. Yeah. And then when you do come to the cross, you come to realize that he's not judgmental the way you talk, the way that people teach. Yep. He's open arms. Yeah. He's like, you're my son. I may not like what you do, but I love you. I may not understand, you know, some of the things, but I can use it. Yeah. It's like how he used me to get to my dad. You had said something about, well, our dad, but you had said something. And you had said that, you know, comedy and death or whatever, you got to understand, like, do you remember that we had the funeral that day and that night you had the show? You remember that? My dad's funeral was that morning. Yep. And that night you had to go on stage and make everybody laugh. Like, do you understand what you did for us? Yeah. We were the first of our family to lose our father. And I was a mess, a drunk, and I was already, everybody, I mean, your brother stayed with me a couple of months because they knew I was going to go crazy. And when your brother left, what happened? When Nick left, I went crazy and still got locked up. Yeah. You know, that day, that moment, I believe that the pandemic, God was preparing you for that moment because we needed a laugh. You know what I mean? We needed that because I don't know if I would have been alive. Yeah. If you wouldn't have did the hard work, because I wasn't doing the work. He wasn't doing the work. You worked. And your hard work, your many years of struggle, your many years of pain, your many years of everything you did, you didn't know it, but what God knew was, hey, these guys are going to need it. Your family's going to need it. They're going to be weak, and I need you to be strong. And that's what I see in your comedy. And that's what I want others to see in your comedy. You know, it's not about the words. It's about the fact that you go in there broken, and sometimes you go in there not, you know, just wanting to forget the world, but you come out just like, man, like I could see my dad again, or you know what I mean? You just forget, and it's like then reality sets back in, but yet that moment was peaceful, you know, and that's what you bring, and that is amazing. You know, that is something that I don't feel that anybody should take away from anybody. That's your talent. Yeah. Your talent is to, whether you know it or not, you see 150 people out in the audience. That's 150 mental cases
Right.
That when they sit there and hear your comedy, you know that they are intertwined in your life and they're forgetting theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
know,
an amazing
because I
gift.
know, and I know when I go somewhere, or if you take me somewhere, I take you somewhere. It's like, no, you got to check this guy out. He talks about this. He talks about these certain situations. So those people are there for a reason.
Yeah.
That's what I truly believe in. Everything that you've been saying and talking about, I truly believe people gravitate you for a reason. So God is using you for a reason.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree. And I remember that show, man. I remember having to go do it. And y'all were honestly my strength, which is crazy because I knew that y'all were going to be there. I knew, I think, I know Sonia went. I think Myra was there. I think Oscar was there maybe.
Yeah.
Jacob was there.
I don't even know if I was there. I don't think I was there.
Yeah, I don't think you were either. But I remember being like, okay, well, the family's here. I have to just go up. I know it's rough. I know you don't want to do it, but it was I think 7 to 10 minutes. Just go up and do your thing. Do it for Uncle Manuel and just do what you got to do.
And I'm telling you, that was awesome because when God revealed to me how he used me, it's not orthodox. It's not normal. And that's the part that I love about God is everything that we're taught about God. I'm telling you, be very careful because God, everything that he does is of design. And that design is for one purpose and one purpose alone, to unite us and turn us into his kingdom.
Yep.
And the reason why I say that is my dad and I's relationship was horrible, but the greatest thing that God did is, everybody knows about my dad's lifestyle. My dad was gay. His lifestyle was not a certain thing, and in the Bible, what does it say? Reality. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And so I struggled with that. You have no idea. When people sit there and say well, I do this and I do that, and I struggled. It's how do you worship a God and say, I want to go to heaven when my dad could be somewhere else?
Right.
And then you have certain family members that say, because they're very strong believers in God, and they agree with, what the Bible says, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's if it says it in black and white and I'm worshiping this God, God is saying that this is where my Father is. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And let me tell you the power of God. Let me show you how much God loves you. And no one will ever understand it because it's my personal relationship that God did it for me in my time of need. I suffered for this for 2 years. Not wanting to praise God anymore because I knew my dad wasn't there. And I remember one day God was like, no. It was Nick. Your brother, we had a weird conversation. I don't even know why. And your brother, out of nowhere, just brought up my dad and was like, Manuel, because I was drunk, of course, when I called Nick. Like, Manuel, every time you called your dad like this, every time you were drunk, you belittled him. You made him feel so little that he would always call me crying. And he would say, well, I'm just going to go to the Bible and I'm going to pray. And I'm going to go to the Bible and I'm going to pray. And it broke me because I was like, man, my evil hurt my dad and I never saw it, And God's like, why did it break you? I needed your evil to break that man. That man never came to me. But it's because you would break him and he didn't know what to do with you. He knew that I knew what to do with you. And he'd fall on his knees praying to me. And I needed him to do that. Do you know what kind of feeling, you know what kind of love that is that God took the time for one person to do? You know what I mean? That type of love is amazing because he took my evil and I could not understand my evil, but yet he turned it around for his glory.
Yeah.
And he comforted me by saying, let them say what they want to say. It's okay. You judge, you're going to be judged. It's almost like look in the mirror and tell somebody something, and that's like that. You're telling yourself that.
Right.
But I know, because God showed me in my heart that God loves us all, and he's going to give us all an opportunity before our time.
Yeah.
And that is right there. That's what I hold on to. You know what I mean? I want you to know, man, what I've seen, and I'm hearing everything that you're saying, and something that a lot of people don't know is like, man, I don't choose this. You know what I mean? I don't choose like I didn't choose to minister or to spread God's word or things. That's not my purpose. You know what I mean? And one of the gifts that God has given me is revelation. I don't know why. And when you were talking, God revealed something to me, and I just want to share it with you.
Okay.
And it's nothing bad, and it's nothing anything. It's just an answer to, I guess, your question that maybe only you and God know. Something that now you have a compass, a roadmap, something you can hold on to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that is, when you live in you know how it says in the Bible, don't live in the past. Mm-hmm. And your comedy is what? In the past. Mm-hmm. And what I feel, and this is what God's saying, you're using your past, meaning living in the past, to pay for your future. Mm. There's nothing wrong with that. Your stories of the past is what is creating your future. Mm-hmm. The only thing is when you do that, the maturity level can't grow. Mm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like, if you keep talking about the past, emotionally, you won't be able to grow. You will constantly hold on, whether it's funny, it's a joke, it's all of this stuff, but sometimes, it's like a marble. One raindrop on marble doesn't do anything. But if it constantly rains, eventually the marble chips. Mm-hmm. And eventually the marble diminishes and it'll crumble. It's kind of the same thing. If you keep making fun of yourself over and over again, would you diminish? Would you, are you healthy enough to keep growing? And that's what I feel like God is saying, is everything you're doing is amazing. Mm-hmm. You're that wall, meaning you're bringing people that are suffering, that whether they're Christian or not, you're bringing them in and they're having a blast. Mm-hmm. And then when they leave, man, like the way that you are, I was telling him, it's different with you. It's like when you first walked in, you greeted everybody. He showed me a video of you walking up a lady and helping her with her drinks. Mm-hmm. This is like 30 minutes before your show? Mm-hmm. Who does that? Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Things like that, like your comedy is always going to be there. Your future is going to grow. Mm-hmm. Are you prepared emotionally? Because remember, we talked about all of your comics that you look up to. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine how hard it could be talking about tragedy, making people laugh, and then still having to experience the tragedy and utilize that to find the joke out of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it seems like you are starting to get a good grasp at that. Yeah. And I really just wanted to thank you for that, like really. And I know everything that you do, I know why you do it. You do it for the purity of your heart. Mm-hmm. You do it to truly, truly bring joy to other people. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know that you don't just do it for, me and my brother. You already have your fans. I want to share a message with you. This person just needs you to know. And this is just one person, and you have over thousands of followers. So imagine if each one of those people sent videos of what kind of change you made in their lives.
So I know Manuel had told me one time, it's one thing that we've said on Leap 27 Beyond is the God of your understanding. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I like that, I don't know if this pertains to your life in general, it helped me. Now, the God of Manuel's understanding is a lot different than the God of my understanding. Mm-hmm. One God, but he talks to us in different ways. Yeah. Manuel, he had his own problems with alcohol. He said how evil he was. Being a former alcoholic myself, it's hard to snap out of that. It's hard to get back, Yeah. Now the difference in between me and him, he would take it a little bit overboard. So it was hard to get through him. So God had to break him. Mm-hmm. Break him down to his knees. Mm-hmm. Now, not necessarily the God of your understanding had to maybe break you in that way, maybe in other ways. But that's why I like to use the God of our understanding, because everyone might not understand this story today. But as long as you understand it, and Manu, you said it the best, as long as you have the emotional strength to carry on, God knows that you can do it then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, I agree.
yeah, man.
All right, I just wanted to share this with you, cousin.
All right.
Hey, John, Polar Bear, this is your cousin, man. I'm thank you for doing the show. My brother, he's behind the scenes, you already know. So I just wanted you to know, man, this episode is going to be different. It's special. It's dedicated for you. This episode, is called Profession Meets Confession. And I know sometimes you struggle with certain things, but I want you to know what type of a difference that you make in people's lives and others. And this is just one situation. Not only have you made a difference in our lives, but you've made a difference in this lady behind me's life. And I want to sit here and share the testimony with you to let you know what kind of a difference that you made. When I first met her, she never knew we were family. You know how the way we talk, I always call you John. I don't call you Polar Bear. So one day I was saying your name, Polar Bear, that we were going to go to your comedy. She was cutting my hair and she just explained to me this wonderful story on who you are. What does Polar Bear mean to you?
Found him on Facebook. I was just scrolling down and then I saw one of his sketches and I really liked it. So I kind of know what he's saying and everything, and it kind of really fits nicely with what I've been through too. And that's one of the first time I saw him and I thought he was really funny. I feel that a lot of the videos that he's done correlate to stuff that has happened to us with our family. When I found out that you were his cousin, was not expecting to meet one of his cousins, like the Polar Bear. Come on. There's a couple things that he's actually done for me, even though I know he doesn't know me at all, or makes a lot of difference. The first thing he did do for me was even get closer to my kiddos, because I would send his little skits and his little videos to my kids. We would laugh about it. We even made a little group chat about it. There was a point where I had a lot of stuff happen. I was a little down. I was stressed. I was depressed. Seeing his little sketches, seeing his little videos, it made me laugh. It made me feel better. It reminded me what family was about, how we need to bully our kids to make them stronger. Truth be told, my kiddos were teenagers when I found Polar Bear, so teenagers don't talk much to their mamas. Like, no matter what little skit I would send or anything, like, they would answer me, even just an LOL, or I asked them if they would see it, and we would just talk about it. And we would just talk about the little things that he did and the skits and how it was funny, or...
It's crazy how it would open up a doorway to your memories.
Yes.
Things like that. That's what I noticed his skits are, yeah. That's...
The one who doesn't believe in expiration dates, you know what I'm talking about? You know, the smoker's expired. It says June 2nd. Today's actually June 12th. And she goes, no, mijo. That's just a suggestion. A ver, let me see. No, mijito, it smells fine.
There was a time that you had asked me about my cousin, that you had said, like, man, is he okay? Is something wrong?
Yes.
There's something in his eyes. And I don't know, just can you explain to me that story?
Well, I follow him a lot, and that time that you came over, I did ask you about him because you could tell something was off. Like, I guess in his eyes, I don't know if it was just me or some other people saw it too, but in his eyes, you could tell something was wrong or something was not okay, just off. So I did ask you because he's always been happy and joyful, and that time, yes, he was laughing and he was happy and everything, but you could still see that something was missing or something was off. That he was gonna retire. That's what it's well with me. He's helped so much and he's made me laugh so much that I really wouldn't like for him to retire.
How do you do comedy when you're not when you're in a tragedy? Does that make sense? And what's crazy is one person's tragedy becomes another person's comedy. So while you're in the fire, the tragedy is not fun, but one day you're able to transition it into comedy. Well, John, she's gonna finish up. I'm gonna tell you something. You make a difference in people's lives, whether you think so or not. We're just two people and the third person is behind the camera. You heard her story and what difference it was. The tragedies that she was going through in her life, and your comedy, you were able to take a moment of tragedy in her life and have her smile. And in that smiling, she was able to reach out the line of communication to her children. That's what one comedy session of what you do, that's the type of change it makes for these people.
It does.
The change that you did in my brother's and my life, man, we went to a funeral that morning, and that evening you had a comedy show to do, and you carried the weight of the world on your shoulders just to make us laugh for that one moment. There's gonna be times, cousin, you're gonna struggle. There's gonna be times that you're gonna just ache, but just know it's preparation that during that tragedy, one day, that's gonna be your comedy. One day your tragedy is gonna bring life to others, because when they go through it, somehow, some way, your gift is to just transition that pain and make it funny. So when others go through the pain, they can laugh about it and be carried on through the dark times. I love you, Polar Bear. God bless you and keep your head up. Hey, I'm telling you, man, what you do is you unite. And no one can ever take that from you. It's something that I wish all of us could strive to be. So
It's one thing that I actually left that out with the Colorado thing. That made me even more passionate and have more drive. It was almost like a sign from God. I remember I was releasing skits, and it was right around the time I released the shower skit. I was in the shower singing R. Kelly and all that, and pre-allegations. But I remember this chick reached out to me, and she was like, "Hey, I think you're hilarious. I just wanted to reach out and say thank you so much for your videos. I was in a very, very dark place, and I was contemplating suicide, and I was going to take my life. And for whatever reason, I came across your videos, and they made me laugh, and they put me in a whole different mindset and mind frame. So I wanted to say thank you, because without your videos, I probably wouldn't be here." And I was like, oh. And I just remember like tearing up and like, crying a little bit and saying, "All right, God, I see what you want me to do and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'll go after it, and I'll do it." And then literally about 2 years later after that, she reached out to me randomly again, and she sent me a photo of her, her husband, and their daughter. And she was like, this is possible because of you. If it wasn't for you, this little girl wouldn't be here today.
Wow.
And I was like, oh.
Amen.
And I started crying again, and I was like, oh man, dude, like it kind of like made it clear of like what God wanted me to do. And have y'all ever heard of the clown's prayer?
No.
I've heard of it, but if you remember it, please explain. Yeah.
I have to bring it up.
Yeah.
But basically, Chris Farley would do this prayer before he had any kind of like big audition or anything of like that sort. And y'all know Chris Farley is, he's on my shirt.
Oh yeah, very talented man.
And he's the reason I do what I do, you know, and why I'm able to do what I do, because it just, yeah. But the clown's prayer is, it goes, as I stumble through this life, help me to create more laughter than tears, dispense more cheer than gloom, spread more cheer than despair. Never let me become so indifferent that I will fail to see the wonders in the eyes of a child are the twinkle in the eyes of the aged. Never let me forget that my total effort is to cheer people, make them happy, and forget momentarily all the unpleasantness in their lives. And in my final moment, may I hear you whisper, when you made my people smile, you made me smile.
Man, that's, as a comedian, you know, I mean, I'm kind of like tearing up a little, because as a comedian and struggling with so much, and the whole story of everything that we've talked about here, to hear that, you know, towards this wrapping up,
That's
just
fine. When you made my people smile, you made me smile. That's like what I always think of, dude. And I just, you know, it gives me, it's like, just, it's my drive, man. It's what I want to hear at the end of this life is God say that to me.
You know, and that's powerful, because I remember you said something to me. I don't want to get too much on the topic, but it stuck to me. It really stuck to me. And that was your best friend, Israel.
Mm-hmm.
When you told me when he was on his deathbed,
Mm-hmm.
that all he could think about is the regrets. You know, like, don't waste your time. It's like, I missed so many opportunities. You had said, I don't know the exact words you said, but
He was saying that the things that we see as big problems are insignificant. He's like, I was always worried about, ticket sales and, man, how am I going to do this? And how are, like, the tickets aren't selling, and man, da, da, da. He's like, what we're doing is great. And that was the beautiful thing about him, is he had no regrets when he left. When he left, he was happy. He was like, John, like, we did it, bro. Like, everything that we set out to do in the very beginning, we did. We traveled the country. We told jokes to people. We made a living off of it. He was like, who cares if it's you're performing for 300 people or even if it's just 20 people? He was like, those people that were there, we helped them. We changed their lives. And I remember there was one time, this was before all the TikTok stuff, we did this run, and he was going to get us shows in California. And Israel was always able to get on stage in California because he knew people in there, you know? Yeah. And we had a show in, I think it was somewhere in West Texas. Then we did Alamogordo, New Mexico. And then we did Phoenix, Arizona. We lost so much money on this run. It was really bad. But he was like, we're going to do California, and, you know, we'll go up there and at least we'll make some connections or whatever. Well, while we were in Arizona, there was wildfires happening in California. And he was like, I'm not going to be able to, you know, get us shows. And, you know, or no, it wasn't even that. It was, that's not the reason we went. We got to Phoenix, and he was like, hey, he's like, for some reason I can't get us shows. You know, Jerry's, you know, not able to get us up anywhere. And, and I was like, man, don't worry about it, bro. We'll just go back, you know. And somebody had hit me up last minute for a Corpus Christi show because somebody, like, bailed out. And I was like, there's a show in Corpus Christi. I was like, we'll just go down there. We'll do the show and whatever, dude. It's all good. And so we drove back from Phoenix and drove to his house in San Antonio, stayed the night, woke up and went to Corpus Christi. And we did the show there. And at that show, we had somebody come up, didn't know who I was, didn't know who Israel was, just went because she wanted comedy. And she said, I just lost my husband a month ago. And this is the first time I've been able to smile. Thank you so much. That show had, I think, maybe 15, 20 people.
Wow.
And me and him were like, dude, this is crazy. And like, we always like talked. We always got like really deep with each other because we were both God-fearing and you know, all that. And we were sharing a room, and we were laying down. I was like, man, I was like, what are the odds, dude? You know, it's like, you can't get a show in California, and you know, we come down to Corpus Christi, and this lady's here who needs to laugh, and we just so happen to be there and come back at this time and make her laugh. And like, yeah, man, it's so crazy. God's so amazing. Da da da. And then we were like laying down, and like he was in his bed, I was in mine, and I was like looking at my phone, and right where we were going to stay in California, wildfires broke out.
Wow.
Right where you were going to stay.
Literally right, because I saw an Airbnb or a hotel. It was one of those two, and literally in that area is where wildfires broke out. So not only did God use us for a purpose to help somebody else and make them laugh, he was also protecting us.
Yeah.
Man.
And that is just, I mean,
you can't really call that coincidence. You can't keep calling it coincidence. You know, you can't.
When you can understand, like I said, that God is absolute design, you'll respect that exact story that you're talking about. And something that you said is another proof of God's design. And that is, you had said the first thing that Israel said to you was what? What was it, the biggest?
The problems that we think are big are not, they're insignificant at this point.
You know what's so amazing is I told you when we talked, and you, before your friend passed away, I had told you, you need to find a way to carry his baton. He's passing the baton. Do you know you're doing that?
Yeah.
You're taking big problems and you're diminishing it. Remember one of the questions that I told you? You're taking these big problems, exactly what your friend said, whether you know it or not, and you're diminishing them. Your comedy is doing that. It's saving people, whether you know it or not. Maybe not everybody can contact you or whatever the case is, but at the end of the day, your comedy is taking their big problems and it's making them not as bad as they thought it was.
Yeah.
If they can just have a moment of getting out of their own head, that's what you provide. You provide a way out. And then when that doorway's open, that gives God a chance to do what he needs to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that is what you do. Like, that is something that, man, you can't say that you didn't do it gracefully, and you did it so smoothly without even probably knowing you did it. That you were able to carry out his message, and you're doing it.
Yeah.
And that is what's so awesome. Is I can't even, there's not even words, I'll be honest, because every time you keep talking about you save this person, it's like, man, you saved me too. Like, I promise you that. Like, even when I was in my drunken, stupid, worthless, whatever name that I called myself state, when no one else would answer the phones, you don't think that it would be nice to, like, boom, I click your videos and then I'm reliving the family moments, and I'm just laughing and just like, carried me the next day.
Yeah.
And then, of course, next day problems come, but it still carried me. That moment right there, whatever I was thinking was not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
And that's what you provided. So, yeah, you do have the baton. Yeah, your guardian angel is real. He's here smiling at you. He is proud of you. There is nothing in this world that you have done up to this point. You have carried another death, this time closer to you. You have questioned every purpose of why you should do what you do. You bounced back stronger than ever with material that no matter what type of whatever people think of it as, it's like, if you go over there, you know what to expect. And what you expect is whatever problems you have is going to stay at the door, because some reason, somehow, some way, that's John's gift. John's gift is, guess what? You come to my show, for some reason, the problems are going to stay outside and you're going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee that the problems won't be waiting for you outside, but at least right here, We come united. We come here laughing. And then you guys go home and just trust me, I'm here for you. If you need more help, reach out to me. That's the hand that you give.
Yeah.
And that right there is like, man, you did exactly what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Israel is living in you, whether you see it or not, because any person in your field can very easily say, I don't have any comedy left in me. I mean, why do I want to do this anymore? It's not funny anymore. Does that make sense? Like there's certain things in life where it's like, life hits you so hard that it's just like, okay. I mean, I don't see the joy. Now I just see the pain and suffering, and I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah.
And that's what's awesome is you didn't go through that. You didn't need to. So, man, cousin, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for
Thank y'all.
doing the show. You really are something, a force to be reckoned with. I'm serious. I really feel that you're right. God does have a purpose for you. And you hold on to that purpose. And I'm very proud of the man you've become. I'm very proud at the fact that you owned up to your mental health, because I could never. I'm glad that you were able to come out of it, because I could never. It was very easy for me just to crack open the beer and be in a dark place.
Yeah.
And so for you not to do that, nobody said that you weren't in a dark place. You were, but you weren't there for very long. That is what makes you stronger than what you ever could imagine. That right there is the power of God. When John couldn't, God did.
Amen.
Amen.
And that is what you did.
Yeah.
If we missed a question, or if there's a question that you just want to answer, or maybe you just need to tell your people or your fans, do you have a question maybe that you would like to answer for anyone or anybody out there that maybe we didn't ask, that they need to know about who John or who Polar Bear is, or what he needs to do?
I don't think so. I feel like it's all like it's all been said, it's all been answered. I think that's the good thing about being vulnerable and transparent, is that there's not a lot of unanswered questions out there. I could give people some kind of advice of be careful what you pray for and what you ask for. And what I mean by that is, if you ask God to help you with something, he's going to help you. And you have to make sure that you're ready for it. Because one of the things, and this is kind of a funny thing as well, one of the things that I noticed with myself when I was on the road is the sex thing. I noticed that I was just kind of like doing whatever with whoever, and I wasn't like messy about it. It was like girls that I've talked to and known. I just wasn't hooking up with like random strangers. But something happened after I hooked up with this one chick, and and her and I had messed around before, and she left the hotel, and I was like, cool, whatever. And then just like it hit me. I was like, why? What was the use? Like, there was nothing. What am I doing? You know, like it made me question, like she's amazing. She's a great person, but we're never going to be an item. We're never going to be together. Yeah, it's a fling, but why am I even doing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this is dumb. And I was at that point of like, with the cussing and on stage and, plus having sex and doing these things and all that. And I remember I was like, you know what? We're going to put an end to this now. Let's practice this whole celibacy walk and this celibacy thing. You know what, God? You know my heart. You know where I'm at. You know that I know that I shouldn't do that. The cussing thing and being on stage and being vulgar, I'm still going to work on that. But for right now, I'll give you this. I'll be celibate. I'll leave it alone, and I'll do this for at least a year. And that was November of 2022. I haven't had sex since, but I made it to November of 2023, and I would pray and I would ask God, just keep me away from any kind of temptation. My flesh is weak. Deliver me from that. And he has kept me away from temptation. Because like now that I've met the year, I'm like, okay, well the year's done. It's just real quick. Let me get some. And it's just for whatever reason, I can't even explain it. Anytime I'm like, oh, this is a for sure thing. I'm going to hook up with this chick. It's going to happen. Something either happens with her or something happens with me. And we don't end up meeting up. We don't end up hanging out. And I'm like, okay, well, I know I prayed for this, but come on, dude. Let me get some kind of release or
something.
Something. And it's just like, be careful what you pray for because, and I've been praying this, even though I know this, I've still been praying it. I've been asking for the desires of God's heart and not my own. Asking him to help me to submit to his word and not my own flesh, because I'm so weak when it comes to flesh and temptation and just stupid things, whether it's porn, whether it's going out and hooking up with chicks, whether it's sex, whether it's whatever, dude. I'm very weak at that point.
Yeah.
But I remember for that year, I really, really did everything I could to keep myself out of the situation to where I wouldn't lead into temptation. I remember I was in, where was I? Columbus, Ohio. I was in Columbus. And there was a chick there. And I remember I saw her on the line. And I was like, dang. She had like a red dress on. She looked great. And I was like, man, she is, whew. And I was like, I think I was probably like 6 or 7 months in. And I was like, dude, just chill, don't do it, And she came up and she was flirtatious. And I was like,
man, she knows who I am.
Yeah, come on, devil. All right, what are we doing? And she was like, hey, we're going to go over here. You want to come and have some drinks with us? Me and the family. And her family was like super cool. And I was like, yeah, I'll go over there. We'll hang out or whatever. And I went over there and like we hung out. I had some drinks. I was talking to her and her family. And like the family left and she like stayed there with me, and there's this super awesome arcade in Columbus, Ohio. It's called something Pin, Top Pin, or King Pin, or something of that sort, or Pins. It's actually just called Pins. But it's a barcade. They have the bar there, but they have like it's 2 or 3 stories of nothing but arcades. And I'm not talking about new, like they have the new stuff, but they also have like Frogger, they have Time Crisis, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, like all of them. Like they're all there. And there's also like a big slide you can go down, and like it's just an amazing place.
Just to be a big kid.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And I told her like before I went to the bar, I was like, I'll go to the bar, but I'm gonna go to Pins because this is a barcade. I want to go check this out. And I was like, I went there before. I'm going there again. This is what it is. And she's like, okay, yeah. And so I went to the bar, and she didn't want to go. And she's like, why don't you just like stay here and we can just, hang out. We don't have to go over there. Let's just have some drinks here and, we can chill. And I was like, I'm going to go to Pins.
I'm going to go to arcade.
Right? Like, I was like, and then the bartender was like, oh, it closes in like 30 minutes. I was like, all right, can I close out? She's like, you really going to leave? I was like, yeah. I was like, come over there and meet me. I was like, I'll be at Pins. And she's like, well, just stay here. And I was like, and I got my check and I signed it. I was like, I'm going to be at Pins. If you want to come see me, come see me. Old me, if I wasn't celibate, I would have said, forget Pins. I would have stayed there.
You know what the deal is.
Yeah. I would have stayed there. I would have tried to make stuff. I had one of the funnest times of my night of just going to Pins and going to the arcade, having a good time. And she said that she went and like looked around and didn't find me, but I didn't even care because I was playing arcades, dude. They had an off-road. Remember off-road?
Oh, heck yeah.
With the red, the yellow, the blue, and you would have like the wheel that would just dude, like that's amazing. And so like, yeah, man, I would say be careful what you pray for. I know I kind of got off topic there. That's what I do as a comedian.
Actually, I don't believe off topic because everything that you're saying, I can tell you this. And I'm going to tell you from experience. A lot of people will tell you don't have to sacrifice anything for God. You just come as you are, and it's true. But when you sacrifice something for God, there's a reason. And I'm telling you this.
Bonus points, baby.
It's not even bonus points. It's actually preparing you for what you've been praying for. And that is a relationship. You can't have a deep relationship if you're constantly diminishing your own morals by giving yourself to others.
Yeah.
There's a book out there. I don't know if you've ever read. Have you read a book called Think and Grow Rich?
Oh, I've seen. I haven't read it, but yeah.
I highly recommend you. There's a section in there about sexual energy. This book, I love it because if you're very deep into the word, they talk about higher forces. They talk about energy. And if you really think about it, it's just God, the Holy Spirit. I mean, when you really, really think about it as you're reading this book, they talk about sexual energy, and I've never heard it like this, because you always hear in the Bible, be celibate, blah, 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 blah. But why? What's the purpose? What's the real reason? Well, because God said. No, I don't want to hear just because God said. I want to know a real reason. And it talks about that when you store up that sexual energy. Do you remember when we were younger and we didn't have sex or things like that? Wouldn't you do anything for a woman? When a girl was there, you would go the limit. When we store all that, that's our emotions, that's our feelings, that's our drive. So whenever you don't sacrifice, that's where your what is it called? Your material for your show comes from, because you're sacrificing something, and that pinned up energy has to go somewhere, so it goes into your talent. That's what this book is describing, is if you take away something that pleasures you, you got to redirect it to somewhere else. So what you do is you took away, Lord, I don't want to do this. Your spirit is looking for a relationship. So God is preparing that for you because you made the sacrifice, meaning I'm not going to do this anymore. Well, guess what? God gives you a twofer, because remember, anything that you do for God, he gives you tenfold. So not only is he preparing you emotionally and physically, because guess what? If you're still doing whatever, I mean, you're going to the gym, you're finding who you are mentally, man, you are literally getting the full package. Because why? God needs to make sure that when he puts that woman right before you, because he is the God of absolute design, when he gets there, it's like, I need John to be complete. Because I don't want, John's a good person. I don't want this to ruin. He doesn't need to be worried when he's on the show. He doesn't need a baggage. Yeah. He needs someone next to him. He needs a ride or die.
Yeah.
And that's what God's preparing you. And then in the process of, while all of this is going on, you're using that energy into something else. And you're putting it into your work. That's why you got this new material. It's amazing. When I saw it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like it was like a whole new show. But that's where it came from. And that right there is just what you're experiencing, because I got to experience the same thing. Like the importance of sexual energy, when you actually truly know and utilize it as a gift, rather than the way the devil in the world utilizes it. It's like something that God kind of told me. I always, like, when I say God talks to me, it's not like, hey, you know, I'm God. No, it's a voice in my head. I hear voices. I've already said that. I've learned how to get it. But the one thing he said is, why would you want Hill Country Fare when you can get the real thing? It's like, it don't
Fruity
make no
bites.
sense. Why would you want
Fruity
fruity bites?
Yeah.
Why would you want fruity bites?
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Sinistru-
Why would you want your hands or your palm, which is called self-gratification, which means you're selfish, which means you're just pleasing you, when you can have the real thing? Why do you think the devil makes it so easy for porn? Why do you think you don't even need porn? You just turn on the TV and everybody is pretty much half naked in bra and panties. If you really, they call it a bikini, but it's bra and panties if you really think about it. That's just the doorway. So you can get to the door, because what happens when you see bra and panties, you're like, wow, let's go ahead and open the door.
Yeah.
And then you open the door, and guess what? It's not because, whenever you get this is what I've learned. Whenever you get those urges, it's because something's on the horizon. That's the simple point. When you get those urges, when you pray for something, you say, Lord, I'm giving this up. When that urge comes, it's because God's saying, you know what? Something's coming. I need you to get through this, though. I need you to believe in yourself. I'm here. I'm going to give you a way out. Meaning, bro, he will always give you a way out. If like what you said, you just described a way out.
Yeah.
The girl, This, you wanted to go somewhere else. That was your way out, but you had a choice. You chose something else. So guess what the gift was? You had the greatest time of your life. It may have been 30 minutes, but it was 30 minutes of pure greatness rather than 3 or 4 hours of whatever emptiness that you would have had and been there, done that, and then you're back on the road.
Yeah.
You have a better memory now than what you did with this other one, you know?
Yep.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, this is our show. I just want to say, if there's anyone out there, man, that feels that your profession is not where it needs to be, or it hurts you, or it just makes you feel a certain way, know that you can transition your profession with the confession. It's like Peter did. Jesus didn't tell Peter, don't be a fisherman anymore. He used the same drive, the same dedication, the same feeling, still waking up at 3 a.m., still hard work. He used it all just for his purpose. So when darkness is in your life, when you feel that there's something going, God will use it for a purpose, because we don't worship a God of oops or a genie in a bottle. We worship a God of pure design and absolute truth. This is Leap 27 Beyond. Come as you are. John, thank you.
Yes, thank you
Love
very
you so
much.
much.
Love you. Love y'all.
I can't
Love you
wait
guys.
for the future. See more, man. I really can. I'm excited for the future.
I'm excited for y'all's future too, man. Keep doing this and keep it up and keep being consistent. You are doing the Lord's work and spreading the word, spreading the gospel to people who are scared, and maybe not scared, but just kind of intimidated by the whole Christian outlook on everything. And yeah, y'all keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you, man.
you,
Thank you for coming here, opening up, because that's what it's about. That's the hardest part. And so I had to open up. You had to open up. We can't wait for other people to come talk to us. Open up. We're here. Get on our website. Get on any of our Facebooks, Instagrams. Hit us up. If you need my personal phone number, I will give you that too. So that is the show.